Okay, hello. Hi there. So we have one more talk before the last tea break of the conference, and it's from our second gold sponsor, which is Ex Libris. So we have Matt Borg from Ex Libris is going to talk to us about, among other things, his book, which has recently published and is available in all good bookshops on usability testing. So, over to Matt.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Owen. I was slightly nervous about presenting at this conference, although I've presented before, not at an Irish conference, and it's been just a wonderful couple of days. And I said to my colleague earlier, it feels rather like a mini break. It's been such an enjoyable 2 days. And he said, make sure you don't say that in your presentation because it is being recorded. So my boss will find out. And my partner, Rachel, said, you'll be fine. Don't be nervous. You'll be fine. As long as you're not going directly before a coffee break or after a funny, engaging, and challenging talk, so thank you, Brian, you'll be absolutely fine. So I'm going to talk to you very briefly, very briefly today about user experience and user expectations. Some themes that we've heard about already over the last couple of days. And I've got to start with a question. I've got to start with a kind of rhetorical question. I've asked this before, and I've actually awarded prizes for getting it right, but I threw some chocolate at UKSG. There was almost an international incident. I've been asked not to throw sweets at the audience anymore. But rhetorically speaking, what colour is the future? Well, we could shout out colours. Some people have said rainbow colours, black, blue, orange, yellow. Actually, it is as simple as blue. The colour of the future is blue. So, let's give some context for this before you start thinking Ex Libris have lost their mind. Two guys, Chris Nossell and Nathan Shedroff. They follow a passion of mine. I share a passion with them of science fiction movies. With a surname of Borg, I could hardly not enjoy science fiction movies. And Nathan and Chris studied lots and lots of science fiction movies all throughout the decades. And what they did every time an interface was featured on the screen is they took a screenshot and they condensed it down and they produced kind of color charts of the predominant colors for each of the years that they looked at, from the early 60s right through to the present day. So, as you can see from the chart here, and they published all of this in a book called Make It So, which is a wonderful book. Don't buy the book I wrote, buy that book, it's really, really good. And we've got all these blue on the chart, Okay? There's some outliers, you're absolutely right. Somebody's thinking, yes, there's a big red blob down there, Matt, from 1991, which was obviously reflecting Terminator, I think, Terminator 2 in 91. So there's some outliers, but predominantly the future, as depicted in science fiction movies, is blue. So why is this? Well, there are a couple of suggestions for this. Ostensibly, blue is not really a natural color. Apart from the sky and the ocean, the sky isn't technically blue. You don't find it a lot in nature. Okay, so when these science fiction, when these producers of these films and the artists on set were coming up with these interfaces for people to interact with, blue was a color they started using to depict other world and kind of out there. And it perpetuates itself, because once you start seeing blue interfaces, you get other people designing films, and the blue color continues down the line. So blue features a lot in science fiction films. Next time you're watching a science fiction film, look out for the interface. The problem is that this kind of user expectation has real-world impact on the things we use, in our day-to-day lives. So way back in the late 90s, Motorola produced a mobile phone called the MicroTac, which you can see on the screen. It was their first flip phone. The MicroTac did not sell very well at all. It didn't sell very well at all. And they couldn't understand it. The Motorola engineers couldn't understand why this phone didn't sell. So they took it to some engineers at a laboratory near California, I think, called the Argonne Laboratory. And they showed it to the engineers at the laboratory, and they said, this phone, why is it not selling? Have a play, what do you think? And the wonderful geeky engineers took one look at it and said, well, you built it wrong. He said, how could we have built it wrong? It's the first flip phone to market, how could we have built it wrong? And they basically said, well, because of this, okay? So mobile communication, as depicted in science fiction, was always a flip down. Kirk communicating to Scotty was always a flip down phone. And they went, really? Is that important? And the engineers were like, yeah, that's, having your phone here and it flipping up just feels unnatural when we've been exposed to it. Repeats of Star Trek have been on TV in the States since the mid-60s. So Motorola went away and they built another phone called the StarTAC, which flipped up, kind of emulating the tools that Star Trek used. And it was successful. It sold a lot more than the MicroTAC. So when the user experience is flawed, it has impact on the way that users engage with our products, our services. And in some ways, we've struggled with this in our industry, in our profession, because some of the library systems we've been using have not kept up with the user expectations. So we have things like, we've gone over statistics like this over the last couple of days. 66% of researchers say defining a topic is hard, 82% go to Wikipedia, these kind of things. And all of these, this comes out of a project done called Project Information Literacy by Alison Head at Washington State University. It's very, very detailed, interesting project. She presented at Lilac a couple of years ago. So this is the problem we have, is that this is the user expectation. When they go for their information-seeking journey, this is their expectation because this is what they've been using since they were old enough to use an iPad or hold a mouse. And this information-seeking stuff has satiated their information-seeking behaviors. They've needed to know what time a film is on, and they've found it pretty easily. And they've clicked on a link, and the link's taken them through without breaking along the way. This is their expectation. Autocomplete in Google. When you do a search, you get kind of pulls out and you get some topic explorer on the right-hand side. You get all of these things when they use these systems. If you search Google for heart attack, it knows you're also thinking about myocardial infarction, and it tells you what to do if you're having a heart attack. Call an ambulance. I think if I felt like I was having a heart attack, I'm not sure I would Google it, but if one did, it's there. And actually, if you look at the way Google handles search and handle the way that users interact with their products, you can see that there's a unified kind of design approach to what they're doing. The pixels that they put on the screen actually shape the experience of the user and the user's perception of their services. And I think that's quite an important thing when we're thinking about user experience and user expectations. I'd finished this presentation, then I worked on it again, and last night I found that the new Internet Trends report was out. I don't know if anyone has seen this today. It came out yesterday. It's about 213 slides long. It's really worth kind of getting a coffee and spending some time over it. There's some real nuggets in there. Once we understand what's coming in the future, for example, this is kind of the sort of thing that helps us build our kind of business cases. We were talking about Generation Y and Generation X yesterday. So for Generation Y, a quarter of them would rather talk either web chat or to social media if they're contacting a business, okay? So we have widgets you can put into your discovery products that will do that for you. And you can kind of see that if we start taking notice of what's coming up, we can start thinking about the products and services we use to make sure we're meeting future expectations as well as current ones. So why should we really care about this kind of thing? Because it affects the way that students and our users engage with us and our services and the products you buy. Now, Ex Libris, as you know, so this is really, really important for me. This is a quote from an article from Library Journal from December last year. One of the ways that we can work in our libraries is to point people towards experts when expertise is called for and help people understand motivation and context. And I think if we try and do that better with the services we use, with the resources we have and the products we're deploying for our users, then actually I think some of those stumbling blocks they have, some of the disconnect between the user experience and the user expectation can be handled a wee bit better. I think. And at Ex Libris, we sell products that we hope will help you with this. So we've got discovery products with extensive reliable collections and democratic discovery. We've got Summon, we've got Primo. So we've got services that can help, we think, you do these things. I've done a lot of work with user experience over the last, and all these kind of methodologies that we've heard about already. I've either done these or I've taught sessions on how to do these kind of things. And once you start getting an idea of user expectations and their current user experience and the future stuff, then I feel like we can start meeting user expectations and making it all a wee bit better. Oh, the book. Thank you very much indeed.